Revelation 12. We're still tracking. And, man, this is something I kind of struggle with, and we'll just kind of struggle through it together. But we're going to talk about war in heaven. Talk about war in heaven. And I don't know about you, but when I think about heaven, I don't think about a place of fighting. I don't think about a place of a battle or a war when I think about heaven. But I'm encouraged today that in Revelation 12, we get a little insight that, yeah, you can have war in heaven. I don't know what your heaven is. I don't know what your idea of heaven is. But no matter what your view of heaven or what your idea of heaven is or where your heaven is, I just want you to know that there's a possibility that there could be a war in heaven. And we're going to talk a little bit about birth pains and birth control with this idea of war in heaven. There are two signs given in Revelation 12. And the first sign was this woman that was clothed with the sun. It says the moon was under her feet. And on her head, there was a crown with 12 stars on it. And this woman that was clothed with the sun, that had the moon under her feet with these 12 stars on her crown, it says this woman was pregnant. And she was crying out in birth pains and in the agony of giving birth. I want to just kind of pause there for a second. Pregnant, crying out, agony of giving birth. What a painful thing it is, ladies, because the men, y'all can't identify with this. But what a painful thing it is to be pregnant and crying out, birth, agony. And I don't know, maybe some of the ladies, y'all didn't have that much agony. Maybe you didn't have that much pain. Maybe you can't identify with this woman. But some of you can. I know a lot of you probably took the modern medicine that's given to so many and make the pain go away. But does the pain really go away? The pain is still there. You just don't feel it, right? All of what's going on is still going on, whether you feel it or not. And some of us are numb to the pain. Some of us are numb to what's going on in our heaven. Some of us are numb to what's going on in our world. And we just choose not to feel it. But it doesn't mean that the pain is not still there. It doesn't mean that the battle is still not going on. This war that's going on in heaven is strange because it's not somebody coming into heaven causing trouble. It's not somebody coming from the outside in. It's not some outside force. It's not somebody from earth going up to heaven, but it's a battle that's happening in heaven with the people in heaven. Merriam-Webster defines civil war as a war between opposing groups of citizens of the same country. Opposing groups of citizens from the same country. So this war that's going on in heaven is not people that don't look alike. It's not people that don't speak alike. It's not people that don't understand the rules, but they're in the same place. a political scientist, Stathis Kalivas, who said it this way. He calls civil war armed combat taking place within the boundaries of a recognized sovereign entity between parties that are subject to a common authority at the outset of the hostilities. So they're under the same government. They're under the same sovereign. It blows my mind that we can have the same God. We can have the same set of instructions, but yet we can oppose each other as if we've got two different gods. It blows my mind that we can be under the same Jesus and have the same words that he spoke, but yet we oppose each other as if we have two different Jesuses. There's war in heaven, y'all. We're supposed to be the church. We're supposed to represent heaven on earth. But if there could be war in heaven, yes, there could be war on earth. Jesus said in Mark 13:7, he says, "And when you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed." Good news. He says, don't be alarmed when you hear of wars and rumors of wars. He says, this must take place, but the end is not yet. Man, there have been wars going on for a long time. The United States, I read somewhere on a post that in all of the years that the United States has existed, starting with the colonies, 1776, when they came and got their independence from Britain, about 90% of the time we have been at war. Whether it's at war with the Spanish or war with the Indians or war with ourselves or war with some other country, for 90% of the time we are at war. And they were making the argument is if America is the greatest nation on earth and it's supposed to be considered this place of freedom and peace, man, we're not a great example. If America is the best and the greatest nation on earth and we're at war 90% of the time, what does that say about the rest of the world? Jesus said in Mark 13:8, he says, "For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places. There will be famines. These are but the beginning of the birth pains." See, these wars are just the beginnings of the birth pains. Now, my mom is a special lady because she bore me. I came out backwards. I was almost 10 pounds and just caused all kind of chaos inside of her womb. Now, the typical baby, the average baby's head is about 34 inches around. Excuse me, not inches. That would be a big-headed baby. Y'all should have said, "Pastor." It's about 34 centimeters. So about 34 centimeters around is about the average size of a head. That head has to go through the uterus and out the birth tract. 34 centimeters, which is about 13 inches in perspective. It's a pretty nice size. So the beginnings of birth pains, that opening is not wide enough for that head to come through. Because the beginnings of birth pains, it's about 2-3 centimeters. You start feeling the contractions. And then as you get to 5, 6, or 7 centimeters, those contractions start to get really heavy and they get longer. And then when you get into 8, 9, and 10 centimeters, they call that active birth. It's like, hey, it's almost time to start pushing. And see, when you get to 10 centimeters, if you do the math on that, pi times d, which is pi is 3.14 times 10 centimeters, that gives you that 31, 32 centimeters that you need to get that head through there. That's kind of how that works. And so Jesus says when you start to hear wars and rumors of wars, he says these are the beginnings of the birth pains. He says it ain't even time to push yet. He says we're at 2, 3, 4 centimeters. Everybody's worried, oh, it's the end. No. He says it's just the beginnings of the birth pains. In other words, y'all ain't seen nothing yet. If you think these wars and these talks about wars is something, boy, have you got something in store for you. We're just getting started. And so in Revelation 3, we see the second sign. He says, another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon with 7 heads, 10 horns, and on his heads 7 diadems. And in verse 4, it says, his tail swept down a third of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she bore her child, he might devour it. It's something about the birth pains and seeing everything getting ready to happen. And then the other side of this thing, we're talking about birth control, because here's this dragon that's waiting. The dragon is actually waiting. He's not causing the pain. He don't have anything to do with anything. He's just waiting patiently for the birth. Now, it's interesting to me that the dragon doesn't kill the woman. Because if he really wanted to just kill the baby, why wouldn't he just kill the woman? Maybe he's not able to. Maybe because of the glory of the sun on her. Maybe it's something about her crown. Maybe it's something about he just can't get close to her. You know, when I saw this in Revelation, I just got this vision of Wonder Woman. I said, man, maybe it's Wonder Woman, and she's got that whip, and she's just saying, get back, dragon. I don't know. But I encourage you mothers, you know, to protect your baby, to protect what God has put inside you, to protect them not just from the outside, but also from the inside, because sometimes we got dragons inside of us. We don't want to talk about them dragons. But this dragon is waiting, and it says that he wants to devour this child. And I looked up that word devour. And in several instances, all throughout scriptures in the New Testament, when that word is used, it's not really used of somebody trying to kill or to annihilate something, but it's used in a way to take advantage of. And so if the Satan really just wanted to destroy the child, he would have just gone ahead and just, that would have been it. But he wants to devour, meaning he wants to consume or use everything that baby has. He recognizes the potential in it, and he wants it. Matthew 24:29 says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, this is Jesus' words, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Isn't it interesting? That the powers of the heavens will be shaken. That's a lot going on in here. The sun and the moon and the stars. And there are people who worship those things. But guess what? There's something more powerful than what's in heaven. There's something more powerful than the sun and the moon and the stars. Because it says the powers of the heavens are going to be shaken. Man, we're so used to looking up at the sun and the moon, and that stuff is so consistent, you can set your watches by it. Sun is not the best way to set your watch. That's why they use 2 stars that are even further out than the sun to use, because it's a little better as far as the accuracy of setting time. But Jesus says even those things are going to be shaken. You won't even be able to set your watch anymore, because the powers in the heavens are going to be shaken. They're not going to be trustworthy anymore. You're not going to be able to trust to look up and see the sun and look up and see the moon. Nothing is going to be untouchable. If there can be war in heaven, he says in verse 30, then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man. And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. We're getting close to being able to see Jesus. We're getting close to being able to see the Son of Man coming on the clouds with great glory, but we still got some time left. He says in verse 31, Jesus says he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. There's a lot going on in heaven. I mean, it's amazing, all this stuff that's going on in heaven. We've got in chapter 12, we see this war with Michael and his angels, and a third of the angels are kicked out. They all have the same God. But just because we have the same God doesn't mean that we all hear him the same way. Man, we live in a time where we can be fighting against each other under the same God. These people over here, they got the banner of God up. These people over here got the banner of God, and they are killing each other. I know it's Couples Sunday, and sometimes when couples get married, they go on what they call a honeymoon. And some people say that honeymoon can last a week, 2 weeks, sometimes a year. But if it's anything like mine, my honeymoon was about a couple hours. And I was back to work, back to the norm. And our honeymoon didn't last real long. And in our marriage, we had a lot of wars. We had a lot of battles. And I'm proud to say that I lost. War is not a bad thing as long as the right side wins. War is not a terrible thing as long as the truth and morality and justice is served and is done. You know, we had civil war in America. And no matter what you think about it, I'm kind of glad that the Union Army won. I'm kind of glad. Because if it hadn't, I don't know what this United States might look like right now. Because there was a battle about whether all men were really created equal or not. Whether the color of your skin meant something or not. And I'm glad that at the end of that battle, they said, yeah, we are all equal. The color of your skin doesn't really matter that much. Just as there was battles here, there was a battle in heaven, and I'm so glad that Satan and his angels lost the battle. I'm glad that they were kicked out of heaven. But I got some good news and some bad news. Heaven ain't perfect. See, if heaven was perfect, there wouldn't have been war in heaven. If heaven was perfect, all of the angels would have been obeying God and doing everything they were supposed to do. They wouldn't have got kicked out of heaven. If heaven was perfect, then there would have been no need for a new heaven. Look what Jesus says, Mark 13:31. He says, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Man, there is one who is perfect, whose name is Jesus. And so when we focus on heaven and we talk about heaven so much that we forget about the Jesus, the one who's going to take this heaven away and put a new heaven and a new earth in place, we take the focus away from what is actually important. And in our marriages and in our lives, we so tend to focus on the things that are not important. We focus on the wars and the battles, and those are just birth pains. Man, if you want to have a good marriage, if you want to have a good life, you're going to have some good wars. You're going to have some good trouble. You're going to have some good battles. And if good wins, you're going to have a great marriage. You're going to have a great life. Because when your battles finally give birth, when that 10 centimeters is ready, when that head is ready to come out, you're going to be so excited. There will be tears of joy over what you have. I thank God for the mighty man. He's talking about 15 years, man. I'm like, well, I'm getting excited. They almost there. They going through, they done been through the birth pains. I bet y'all can sit and talk with them in a private room. If they would really tell y'all what goes on in a marriage, you'd be shocked at the wars and the battles that we fight. And people see you and they say, oh, y'all are such a beautiful couple. You have such beautiful children. Oh, you guys have a beautiful home. All of that beauty comes from the battle. All of that beauty comes from the bouts that you didn't see round 1 and round 2 and round 3. By the time you get to round 10, you're so tired that you can't mess it up no more. You're so beat up and bruised, you have nothing left. You just say, Lord, your will be done. Your kingdom come. Your word stands. Everything else will pass away. I'm so glad that heaven and earth is going to pass away. I'm so glad that all the things in our past are going to pass away. I'm so glad that God has something great waiting on us. I want y'all to know is there's war in heaven. There's birth pains and there's birth control. And Jesus is in control. Jesus is going to make sure that you become what he wants you to become. Jesus is going to make sure that you have what he wants you to have. Jesus is going to make sure if you keep your faith in him and your trust in him, that you'll get the new heaven, the new earth. You'll get the beauty after the ashes. You'll get the dancing after the mourning. You'll get the joy after the night of the sorrow. You'll get the hope